Let's take these app icons and make them horror themed, starting with Waze. So I traced the original shape, but instead of white, I made it red and gave it a stroke so it felt like the real logo. I kept the wheels simple, just black circles like the original icon. Then I turned the face evil. I rebuilt the eyes with the angry eyebrows, cut the circles so it doesn't look like its eyebrows are over his eyes, and then I flipped the smile into an angry mouth. After that, I added horns and sharp teeth. And now, Waze looks like a tiny demon that would absolutely cut you off in traffic. So that was Waze, but devilish. Alright, look, this was the easiest icon of the entire video, but we still have TikTok and ChatGPT at the end. So let's move on to the next one. Next up is Musical.ly. When I saw this logo, I didn't really think music, I thought heartbeat, so I traced the shape, tweaked it a bit and built a heart monitor around it. I made a rounded rectangle, gave it a yellowish color and used bevel and emboss to give it that instant 3D monitor look. Then I duplicated it for the inside screen and added shadows so the screen actually looked like it sat inside the monitor. After that, I rebuilt the outer frame again, but this time without effects, so I could paint the highlights and shadows manually. Once the heartbeat was in place, I added shadows around it so it felt embedded in the screen. Then I built a simple background with a gradient and a shadow underneath so the monitor didn't float. Next, I added buttons and put bloody handprints on 2 of them, because apparently someone touched the controls and made a very bad decision. Then I added a plug, warped it so it hung over the monitor like it had been ripped out, almost as if someone did this on purpose. After that, I added shadows underneath the plug, dirt textures, blood, and finished it off with some final color adjustments. And that was Musical.ly, but horror. Like this video if you don't want your plug pulled. Thank you! Next up is the Samsung Music icon. For this one, I wanted to turn it into something we're all trying to avoid. I traced the base shape, but the top was way too blocky, so I cut part of it out and sharpened it until it felt more weapon-like. Then I started adding shadows and highlights to build the depth. After that, I added a handle so it actually looked holdable and shaded that as well. Then I gave the blade a metal texture to make it look like, well, metal. Now, for the background, I went with a simple gradient and added a shadow underneath so the side sat in the scene. Then I added smoke, and for the handle, I added a leather texture and boosted the highlights to give it more depth, especially down the middle, which made it feel way more real. Then came the ketchup, because apparently no one could open the bottle properly, so first I let it drip from the tip, then across the blade, then onto the ground, and finally, one last drip falling off with a bit of motion blur so it looks like it's happening right now. And that was Samsung Music, but horror. We're getting closer now, but we still have TikTok and ChatGPT left. Next is the Apple Game Center icon, I think. And if it's not, I'm sure the comments will politely let me know. I traced the rocket and the wings, then shaded everything like the light was coming from the top left. As soon as the shading started, it already looked way better than the somewhat flat original. I added an extra rock element to the back for more detail and shaded that too, and then applied a metal texture to the rocket and wings. I warped it so it followed the shape properly. Then I added a moon, gave it a glow, and this is where it turns horror. I rebuilt the window and then placed the monster inside and refined the mask so it actually looked like he was behind the glass. After that, I added fire underneath the rocket and used it as a second light source, painting highlights from the flames onto the rocket. I drew in my own glass reflections to really sell that behind glass effect. Added stars in the background and briefly considered adding an arm in his mouth, but I didn't like it, so I threw the arm into outer space. And that was Apple Game Center, but horror. Alright, now we're on the final 2. Next up is TikTok. I rebuilt the shape and started pushing it into 3D while keeping the original color scheme. Then I started building the creature. I carved out the mouth so the lips actually stretch around the teeth. Then added a real dog nose because he can smell if you haven't subscribed yet, so now would be a great time. After that, I added saliva strands between the teeth and the tongue and then moved on to the background with smoke underneath, smoke behind, and a drop shadow so the creature actually sat in the scene. Then I pushed the highlights, added blood, and changed the overall color to purple because it just looked better. I fixed the jaw shape, added more shading to the face, added blood to the tongue and teeth, and finished it off with a dirt texture and final color adjustments. And that was TikTok, but horror. Alright, now for the last one. The final icon is ChatGPT. And this one might be the most wrong. I built the entire logo out of a rope, shaping each piece until it matched the original icon. That whole part gets sped up because otherwise we'd be here forever. Then came the real work, making every rope interaction feel believable. Wherever one rope crossed another, I added contact shadows underneath and highlights on top so it actually looked woven. After that, I added blood spatters, then dripping blood, and finished it off with final color adjustments. And that was ChatGPT, but horror. Let me know which one you think was most horrific, and if you enjoyed this video, you will probably like this one.